Hi, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Paul Simmonds. As it said, I'm a fellow analyst from KuppingerCole, and speaking to you from a locked down UK. So what are we going to talk about today? Very quickly, zero trust as a concept. Is it hype? Is it a business imperative? And hopefully you'll agree with me by the end of it that it is a business imperative. So we don't have islands anymore as businesses. The days where you employed staff as full-time staff, and that was it, and you had no one else, and you walked into the office and you worked in the office and you talked to office systems only, and if you wanted to collaborate someone, you picked up a telephone. Yes, for those of us who are working in the 90s, that was the norm. But business does not work like that anymore. The advent of the internet and the connectivity and the whole plethora of the way we work globally these days has changed everything. And the problem we've got, and this sort of started happening in the early 2000s, was that how we operated as businesses just did not meet the security model that we had put in place in the 90s. So, the security model in the 90s, put in a firewall, harden your firewall. You only allowed staff to connect through, usually using something like a secure ID card and a VPN as life went on. We do not work that way anymore. And the problem we've had since the early 2000s is that what the business wants to do and what security and IT want to do have been diametrically opposed. So it is really, really key that we change our mindset and deliver what the business wants us to do. So zero trust. Look, it's a buzzword. And the key thing to note here, it has morphed as a concept over time. So originally, 10 years ago, when John Kindervig launched this magical term, it was called zero trust networking. John was a network man. And the paper, if you go and read the original paper, was called Zero Trust Networking. But it had its roots in the concept of deperimeterization, which came out of the Jericho Forum. Google Jericho Forum, go onto Wikipedia. Everything that Jericho did is actually linked for free off the Wikipedia pages, so you can look at that. But this is what today's business looks like. Yeah, and you are collaborating with all of this stuff, whether it's cloud services on the right there, whether it's partner connections, whether it's work from anywhere. Of course, we're all working from home at the moment. We'll talk about COVID a little later. The Internet of Things, 5G, IPv6, you name it, it's coming. If it isn't in your business already, I bet you it is. But if it isn't, it will be very soon. And the little picture in the middle is actually Hong Kong at night. Because if you've ever been to Hong Kong at night, you've got all these market stalls and it is thronging with people. You are open for business. And the challenge is how we as modern businesses are open for business, open for collaboration. So is it hype or is it real? There are so many vendors out there selling you zero trust. As this box says here, a lot of it is just an old technology product that the marketing folk have shoved zero trust. Go into Google and put in zero trust, and it will bring you up a list of 50 or 60 different companies, different products. The key thing I'd like you to if you take nothing else away from this presentation today, please take away the fact that there is no one product out there that will deliver a zero trust solution, no matter what the salesperson tells you. And that is probably the real key thing. Zero trust is a concept, it is not a solution. So what is zero trust not? If we want to market, and the reason you've got a martini glass there is what we are doing is sometimes referred to as martini networking. It works for Europeans because we had the martini adverts in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Anytime, any place, anywhere, there's a wonderful place we can share. That's what businesses are about. It's sometimes referred to as martini networking. What is it not? it is not a next generation perimeter. Yeah, it is not a VPN modernization or software defined networking. That might be part of the solution somewhere for you if that's what your business wants, but that is not the solution. It's not an off the shelf product. It's not an IT project. It is a business project. And that one is really key. This needs to be sponsored by the business. Yeah, it could be about eliminating your internet. The companies that work fastest and quickest and are most agile in the world are those companies who have gone, have not adopted an internal network from day one. They've gone cloud, they've leveraged external services, they've leveraged joint ventures and outsourcing, particularly cloud-based outsourcing and SaaS services, to do everything they do on a daily basis, other than what they do as their secret sauce, which they keep in-house. But when we say in-house, it's probably on a server in a cloud that they own. So if that's what zero trust is not, let's talk about what I'd like to call true zero trust. So this is sort of your list, your starting point for any discussion on zero trust. So what is zero trust? So let's look at where we trust at the moment and where actually, if you're going to do zero trust properly. So the first one is no trust in your own network. Yep, that's what we originally 10 years ago, when zero trust was coined, talked about. But where do we not want to have trust? If we want to work globally and transparently and agilely on the modern business network. Yeah, it's no trust in the internet. Hopefully you assume that one already, but let's state it: no trust in the internet. No trust in any countries you operate in. I've worked for global corporations that have worked in 50, 60, 70 countries where we had a flat network that stretched to 30 countries, including India, China, Russia. So, no trust in the countries you operate in. No trust in any identity ecosystem. Which is an interesting one, because we'll talk about how you use identity perhaps to enable zero trust. But actually, stop trusting your identity ecosystem, because when you have 88,000 people in Active Directory, can you guarantee that every single one of them is logging in with absolutely strong credentials and are who they say they are? Probably not. No trust in the server, other than for availability. Wouldn't that be nice? No trust in the operating system, because operating systems, as we know, get hacked. No trust in the hardware, because hardware is not, as a lot of the military folk will tell you, they do not trust a lot of the chips that are made in China. No trust in your system administrators, because again, IT's dirty little secret is if you can subvert an administrator, or an administrator goes rogue, they've got access to absolutely everything. No trust in your secure server location, and no trust in the system's physical security, because it's fairly easy. I have spoken to the penetration testers who said, yeah, not only did we gain access to the server room, but we actually managed to enroll ourselves with user credentials. Yeah, they can do it. They can do it in your systems. I can guarantee it. They can do it in most systems. And ultimately, no trust in the endpoint. So that's your list of what zero trust truly should mean. And what we're about is actually looking at those in your business and coming up with an architectural strategy that designs in trust to replace those various things. So, and some of you might say, well, fine, okay, we accept that we're going to have to trust our staff. Fine, if that's your decision, but at least you make it with an open, an open mind, and it's out there, and that assumption is out there with the business. So ultimately, it's all about the data, because those are most people's crown jewels. And whether it's data that goes to people to make decisions, or whether it's data that goes to systems to operate valves, it doesn't really matter. It's all about the data. Yeah, it's about making this. It's a risk-based decision about access to data or systems based on the trusted identity and attributes of all the entities. And entities are people, devices, other organizations' code and agents, and forget about agents, that's a whole different discussion. But of all the entities and the components in the transaction chain, the better you can understand the end-to-end transaction chain for this bit of data, the more you can protect it. So zero trust should be about adding trust into your critical path, depending on what your business does. As I said, this isn't an off-the-shelf solution. This is about working with the business to decide where your critical systems are. And actually, if you do that bit of work, and I have done that bit of work in my professional life, then actually you'll find there are probably around about 20 critical systems within your business that you actually need to concentrate on to make this a reality. So, takeaways from this: do you understand what those 20 critical systems are? And do you understand the data flows for those critical systems? So correctly implemented, actually, you reduce the whole probability of bad actors. It enables you to migrate to the cloud. It's amazing. Those people who have gone down this road and say, we don't rely on our internal network anymore. If we don't actually need to worry about computing on our network, it enables computing off our network, i.e. cloud. It enables much easier access and more agile access to third parties and joint venture partners out there. It really is phenomenally good if you can do that. And all of a sudden, security are the people who like to say yes, rather than who are perceived by the business as they like to see no, like to say no. The really neat thing behind this is, and let's just say an aligned zero trust strategy enables new routes to market. So all of a sudden you're saying, well, we've adopted this zero trust strategy. Now we don't have a reliance on a hardened perimeter anymore. So now, yes, you can do this. Yes, you can do this collaboration with these people, and you can have it tomorrow. Because now we don't need to put in firewall rules or some complex technology or a reverse proxy at our gateways or anything else that the IT folk will tell you about. We just say, yeah, go collaborate. So it facilitates easy ways of collaboration. And look, no presentation today at the moment would be, especially about zero trust, would miss talking about COVID-19. Has it? If you implemented a zero trust strategy just before COVID struck us all, it's been a real business advantage. Those were the people who in March and April this year were able to literally send your people home and say, go work, go collaborate, continue doing what you are doing with all your joint venture partners and the people you collaborate with, because actually, whether you're at home or in the office, it makes no difference. And then, of course, there are the people who didn't have a zero trust strategy in place. And actually, I'd ask you, are you still playing catch up? And I know businesses out there who are still playing catch up to their competitors. So, what drove your zero trust strategy for a lot of those people playing catch up? It was COVID-19. So, ultimately, again, the list on your left, but what I'd like you to take away from this is actually this is can be for a lot of businesses a large-scale transformation. It can take over a year. It can take longer than that. Large system upgrades take that. So you are looking at a 5-year roadmap here to get your business properly deperimeterized, if you are not already, properly zero trust. So ultimately, to do that, you need to align with your business strategy, and you need to be sitting down with your business and saying, actually, what are you planning to do in terms of partnerships, joint ventures, projects coming up in the next year, 2 years, 5 years, even 10 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years from a collaboration point of view? And we will make sure that the IT strategy matches that. And with that, a quick canter through zero trust, and any questions?